Imagine a society where you have no family, no country, and like absolutely zero laws, but you're guaranteed limitless luxury, zero poverty, and absolute free love.
Right, which sounds like a recipe for immediate fiery chaos.
Exactly. I mean, throw a bunch of humans into a lawless commune and give them everything they want, and, well, the whole thing usually burns down in a week.
Yeah, weak if you're lucky.
Right. But today, we are looking at a blueprint by an author who claims this exact scenario isn't just possible, it's actually the only way humanity ultimately survives. So, welcome to our latest deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are exploring a really highly ambitious text written in 2007 by an author named Xu Feng, and the title is Utopia and the Home Without Marriage and Family.
That's a heavy title.
It is. And our mission today with you, our listener, is to explore how this document basically takes a sledgehammer to every historical attempt at building a utopia. And then it proposes this wild, highly specific alternative rooted in something called Lifechanyuan values.
Yeah, it's a fascinating text.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we aren't just looking at, like, a philosophical wish list here, are we?
No, not at all. I mean, the tone of this text is what makes it so gripping. The author writes with the absolute conviction of an engineer who's handing you a schematic for a new engine.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is positioned as a literal, functional blueprint. The core argument is that a perfect society is entirely achievable, provided we, ruthlessly examine the historical failures of the past and completely rewrite the source code of human motivation.
So it's not just theory.
Exactly.
Right.
It is practical, it's sweeping, and it really demands to be taken seriously as a working model for human existence.
Okay, but before we can understand this radical new blueprint, we have to look at the historical foundation the author is building upon. Because this text assumes humanity has been itching to build a utopia for thousands of years, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the sheer breadth of the historical scope the author uses to prove that point is, well, it's staggering.
The synthesis is breathtaking, really. I mean, the text groups together an incredibly diverse set of thinkers. You have theoretical political models like Plato's Republic, Thomas More's Utopia, Edward Bellamy's Looking Backward, and Marxist-Leninist communism.
Right, the heavy hitters of political theory.
Exactly. But they're sitting right next to the spiritual and religious aspirations of figures like Lao Tzu, Sakyamuni, Jesus, and Muhammad.
So they're blending politics and religion.
Completely. To this author, the boundary we usually draw between secular political philosophy and spiritual theology, it just doesn't exist. Karl Marx and Jesus Christ were ultimately attempting the exact same project.
Trying to design an ideal society for humanity.
Yeah. Confucius's Great Harmony, Jesus' Kingdom of Heaven, Marx's Communism, they're all viewed as different expressions of the exact same human yearning.
And the text doesn't stop at the theorists, which I found so interesting. It points to the people who actually tried to build these societies, like in the mud and the dirt.
The practitioners.
Right. The author catalogs real-world attempts like the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom in China, American communes like Brook Farm and Fruitlands, the Shaker communities.
Even George Pullman's capitalist Company Town.
Yeah, exactly. All the way to Soviet collective farms, China's People's Communes, and the Osho community. Like, humans have desperately tried to physically construct utopia using capitalism, communism, and religion.
And historically, conventional wisdom looks back at those physical attempts and labels them as, well, catastrophic failures.
Right, because they collapsed.
Yeah, they collapsed, they ran out of money, or they devolved into authoritarianism. They came to nothing in a practical, lasting sense.
But the author hits us with a really fascinating perspective shift here. The text explicitly claims these weren't true failures, and we shouldn't repudiate them.
Right.
Instead, it says they generated massive spiritual wealth. They were stepping stones acting as a foundation so humanity could eventually reach, like, a higher level of existence.
It's an evolutionary view of human idealism. You cannot reach the pinnacle of the mountain without climbing the lower, dangerous paths first.
It makes me think of beta testing complex software.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, like when you release version 1.0 of a new operating system, it inevitably crashes when millions of people try to use it. But the developers don't just, throw away the computers and give up on technology entirely.
No, they look at the crash reports.
Exactly. They isolate the bugs in the code and they write a better program. The previous historical utopias were just beta versions of humanity. But I have to push back on the author's confidence here.
Oh.
Yeah, if all these brilliant minds, from Plato to the architects of massive global movements, if they all failed to make version 1.0 work, what makes this author think they have magically cracked the code?
Well, the author anchors their confidence in a specific tenet stated in the text. The quote is, "Theory without practice is empty. Practice without theory is blind." So the argument is that past attempts didn't fail because utopia is impossible.
Yeah.
They failed simply because their foundational theories were incomplete. The fundamental code had bugs.
I see.
If your foundational code is flawed, the software will crash regardless of how powerful the hardware is. The previous doctrines simply didn't possess the complete picture of human and cosmic reality.
Which brings us perfectly to the crash report. If all those past utopian movements were just beta tests, the text helpfully diagnoses exactly where humanity went wrong with a list of 8 major limitations.
Right, diagnosing these bugs is crucial. The author is mapping out the exact diseases that killed past utopias so they can prescribe a highly specific cure.
So let's guide our listener through these 8 historical flaws. The first one is lacking a correct concept of the universe, time, space, and the greatest creator.
Yeah, a cosmic foundation.
Exactly. And the second one is tied to that. No true understanding of life's origin, development, and destination. Which leads into the third bug, no specific definition of human life's value.
Without a unified cosmological understanding, a society is basically building a house without a foundation. If the people inside your commune are still having, existential crises about why they exist or where they go after death,
Their internal anxiety will eventually tear the community apart.
precisely, you cannot build a lasting physical structure if the psychological structure is terrified of the unknown.
That makes total sense.
Mhm.
But the fourth flaw the author identifies shifts from the cosmic to the deeply personal.
Yeah.
And it's wild. It's an inability to escape the mental restraints of country and traditional family.
Yeah.
Now, criticizing nationalism is pretty common in utopian literature, but attacking the traditional family, why does the author view the family unit as a fatal bug?
Because the traditional family creates biological tribalism.
Okay, explain that.
Well, if you are a parent in a commune and food is scarce, your biological imperative is to feed your own child first, even at the expense of your neighbor's child.
Right, of course.
So the family unit inherently creates an us and a them within the community. It sections off resources, love, and loyalty. The text argues that as long as you have the traditional family structure, true absolute equality and selflessness are biologically impossible.
Wow. So loving your kids over a stranger's kids destroys the utopia. That is a really heavy pill to swallow.
It is radical for sure.
And it leads right into the fifth flaw. Overlooking human nature's tendency toward indolence, decay, and autocracy, basically ignoring the fact that people are lazy and power-hungry.
Right.
But then, flaw number 6 is using threatening tones like telling people to go to hell instead of using a clear systemic theory. And flaw number 7 is lacking spiritual guidance, leading to either the strict depression or total indulgence of love and sex.
Yeah, the extreme.
And finally, flaw number 8, being too strict, dull, and impartial, which suppresses human nature and freedom.
What's fascinating here is how these 8 flaws are perfectly constructed to critique both extremes of historical utopias. Well, they dismantle the overly strict religious communities for flaws 6, 7, and 8. Suppressing human nature, being dull, using fear of hell as a motivational tool. But they equally dismantle the purely secular political movements for flaws 1, 2, and 4, ignoring the cosmic realities and failing to overcome the traditional family structure.
But wait, this sets up a glaring contradiction in the text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flaw number 5 complains that past utopias ignored human laziness and autocracy, but then flaw number 8 complains that past utopias were too strict and lacked freedom. So my question for you is, how on earth does the author expect to fix human laziness without imposing strict rules?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. If nobody is being disciplined and everyone is completely free, how does anything get done?
You cannot solve laziness with rules, and you cannot solve strictness with chaos. The author's solution is that you have to completely change the operating system.
Okay, meaning what?
Meaning, you don't build a better prison to force lazy people to work. You change human motivation at a structural, soul level so that the concept of laziness no longer even exists.
And that brings us to the actual blueprint. Having diagnosed those 8 flaws, the author presents the ultimate patch to the software, the home without marriage and family.
Yeah, this is explicitly positioned as the perfect sequel to all historical communism and utopian practices.
Okay, so let's outline exactly what this new society looks like according to the source. Because there are 8 features here too. First, Lifechanyuan values act as the sole standard of living.
Right. Not a list of civic laws, but a kind of cosmic consciousness. It's a total spiritual rewiring to align with the Creator.
Okay, with that rewiring in place, the second feature is classic Marxist distribution. Work according to ability, distribute according to need.
But then it takes it further.
Way further. Feature 3 is the total abolition of family, religion, political party, and country consciousness, along with zero laws, regulations, or commandments.
Complete anarchic freedom. Strip away every external structure of control. No borders, no marriage licenses, no police.
Feature 4 explains how that works. Everything is run purely by the power of soul and acting with one's nature. Feature 5 is freedom of love and sex, styled after celestial beings in the thousand-year world.
I should note, in the author's broader cosmology, the thousand-year world is a higher dimension, a celestial realm. By referencing this, the author is saying this free love isn't just base hedonism. It's elevated spiritual communion without the possessiveness that ruins human relationships.
Got it. Moving on to Feature 6, collective activities and collective canteens. Feature 7, no work assignments, all labor is done purely by personal choice. And Feature 8, endless recreational activities and immense material wealth.
It is breathtakingly ambitious, combining collective living and distribution by need with absolute anarchy and spiritual hedonism.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because when you look at it, this society sounds like a cross between a futuristic commune and a limitless, all-inclusive luxury resort.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, there are no borders, no marriages, and no laws. Just an honor system powered by the soul guiding the buffet lines and the work schedules. Actually reminds me of a biological organism.
How do you mean?
Like the cells in your heart don't pump blood because a localized brain cell threatened them with a lawsuit, right?
Right.
They pump blood because it is written into their DNA. Their nature is to pump. In this utopia, Lifechanyuan values are the DNA. The author is suggesting that if everyone possesses this cosmic DNA, someone will simply choose to wash the dishes in the collective canteen because their soul recognizes that a clean canteen serves the entire organism. They don't need a law to tell them to do it.
That is a perfect mechanical analogy. The society relies entirely on the internal nature of the individual rather than external coercion. If the cells are healthy, the body thrives without needing a dictator.
But that brings us to a massive practical hurdle. You can't just throw open the doors of a lawless, limitless commune to the general public. If you let one selfish cell into that biological organism, it becomes a cancer that destroys the whole body.
Precisely. A system with zero laws and absolute freedom cannot tolerate a single bad actor. The survival of the entire utopia relies entirely on an extreme filtering process.
Which brings us to the VIP list. If there are no laws and no assigned chores, who is actually allowed into this society? The text has 8 incredibly specific entry criteria for residents.
You essentially have to arrive as a total blank slate, completely severed from the old operating system.
Yeah. Requirement 1, fully comprehend and willingly follow Lifechanyuan values. 2, be willing to unconditionally sacrifice for the happiness of humankind. 3, be mentally and physically healthy and actively love working.
That right there is the linchpin. You must actively love working. That's how the canteen gets cleaned. You aren't just willing to work, you derive spiritual joy from the labor itself.
Right. Requirement 4, have zero worldly debt or worldly attachments. 6, enjoy entertainment and prefer to be clean and tidy. 7, believe you bring happiness to others, not worries. And 8, actively yearn for the Lifechanyuan era and the Celestial Islands continent or Elysium world.
It's an intense filter.
It is, but I skipped requirement 5 on purpose because it completely trips me up.
Oh, yes.
So what does this all mean? Criterion 5 demands that people regard themselves as one of the most civilized and excellent people among human beings.
It sounds incredibly arrogant on the surface, doesn't it?
It sounds like a disaster. I mean, if this whole society is built on having no ego, having no family in-group, and unconditionally sacrificing for the collective, doesn't demanding that people view themselves as the most civilized and excellent invite massive egos into the room, isn't that a recipe for insufferable narcissism in a society with no laws?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author actually anticipates this exact psychological tension.
Oh, really?
Yes. The text uses a closing quote to fundamentally redefine what the word excellence means in this context. The author quotes an unnamed source describing what they call authentic idealists.
Right. The quote says, these idealists have a great sympathy to the humankind and fight for freedom heroically.
But the crucial part of the definition is what these idealists despise. The quote specifies that these excellent people despise high positions and great wealth. They do not want power over others. Instead, they are willing to sacrifice their youth, their blood, and even their lives for human liberation.
Oh, wow. Okay, so excellence has nothing to do with superiority or ego.
Exactly. The text defines excellence strictly as a radical, almost terrifying willingness to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of later generations.
Hmm.
It is the absolute absence of ego.
That completely flips it.
Yeah, the people allowed into this society aren't the ones who think they deserve to lounge by the pool because they're superior. They are the ones who are so committed to the cosmic vision that they will happily scrub the collective canteen floors out of pure, unadulterated love for humanity without ever expecting a thank you.
It is the ultimate paradox. To live in a world with endless recreation, immense wealth, and free love, you have to be the exact type of person who requires none of those things to be happy. You have to be willing to give up everything.
Right. The author understands that a lawless utopia is only possible if the people inhabiting it are essentially flawless. The filter is the only thing protecting the dream from human nature.
Which brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We have just navigated a breathtakingly modern utopian vision with you, our listener. We examined a blueprint that boldly attempts to synthesize ancient philosophy, communal living, and cosmic spirituality.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We unpacked the systemic bugs of human history, the biological mechanics of a lawless society run by the power of the soul, and the intense, selfless criteria required just to get a seat at the table.
And you might be wondering why a document from 2007 matters to your life today.
Exactly.
Well, even if you never have any intention of severing your earthly attachments or joining a collective commune, this text serves as a profoundly important mirror. It reflects humanity's relentless, timeless drive to solve the messy, painful reality of our own existence. We are constantly trying to architect our way out of suffering, to patch the bugs in our own nature.
It proves that no matter how many times version 1.0 crashes, humanity just keeps trying to write better code.
Beautifully said.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over on your own as you step back into the real world. This text argues that in order to achieve a perfect, lawless utopia with endless recreation and absolute freedom, we have to completely eliminate traditional family, national identity, and all of our worldly attachments.
The total eradication of the familiar.
Precisely. Every single structure that currently provides humans with comfort, identity, and belonging has to be incinerated. So here's the question. If a perfect society requires us to strip away every traditional structure that currently defines the human experience, is utopia actually built for humans as we exist today? Or does the dream of utopia secretly require us to become an entirely different species first? Something to think about next time you catch yourself wishing the world was perfect. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.